probably. And they're gonna be like, wow.
Hey guys, Savage Joy here with Real Progressives. Tonight I have a really special show. Out of about 200 shows, this could very well be one of my most important, because I'm taking on a topic which a lot of people don't take on unless it's having to do with statistics and things like that. But the point of tonight's show is we want to get people's personal stories, their personal struggles with mental health. That's the point of this episode. So feel free to ask comments or put questions, and we can, always look through them afterwards, but I can't always see everything as it's scrolling. But I digress. So tonight I have two people I've known for years who have shared their stories and who are brave enough to come on here and, give people a very raw look at what it's like to deal with that on a daily basis. So tonight I have Miss Rene Brooks. She is in Harrisburg area, Pennsylvania. We were co-workers for few years and we just stayed great friends because she's a badass. And then there's Mike McMahon, who is from Hudson, Mass. And he is also a badass. He plays in a band, so obviously he's a badass. And he's wicked awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Rene, do you want to just I should say Rene actually started out with we worked in healthcare together, and we would always talk about what we'd rather do, essentially. And here's the kicker. All three of us, coincidentally, were English majors. Okay.
Nailed it.
I don't know if there's something like English majors are depressed. Or, I don't know what it is, but it's crazy. We're deep thinkers. You started a blog, Black Girl Lost Keys, about being a woman of color and having ADHD. So can you kind of, explain this a little, and then kind of how it went from there to what you do now?
Yeah, well, I started when I was diagnosed with ADHD. I was 25. As I was looking into the connection, because everything has an intersection, and I wanted to find out where who had ADHD, who were also people of color were, and I found out that there was virtually nothing out there. And motivation in starting Black Girl Lost Keys was to be able to say, okay, at least the next person that comes behind me is that they can reference. And it led to me starting a group for Black women with ADHD. And I've wound up being able to go to speaking engagements, and I blog, and I work for a company somewhat. I have a contract with them. So it's a really cool experience, that message, and talk about the different things that I get to talk about, and to kind of be able to, it's like the depression of being an English major has given me the opportunity of living, which is pretty freaking awesome.
I'm envious. But I have my outlet here.
We're gonna plan.
Mikey, how about you?
Man, I'm not sure I compete with that one too much. No, I can relate a lot. I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until adulthood, so I really like that story. That's like a cool thing to relate to. I was an English major at the time, but been depressed on and off, anxiety my whole life. And in college, I went through, got a major concussion, knocked the skull real hard in a mosh pit. Couldn't really walk right for a few months, didn't have full memories for about a year and a half. Like the first 3 months in particular, had to be super reminded of stuff, on a day-to-day basis. And there's a lot of like the depression that came with that, and recovering from that, how to thrive, try to thrive when just like can't remember day-to-day things, and that like concussion that caused me to drop out of school. So the kind of trying to get back on my feet after that was a whole big thing. Did a weekend in a mental hospital, and learned some fun things there. Met some fun people. Thought when I was doing a nice job on the road to recovery. Moved in with my girlfriend at the time, and a month and a half later, she assaulted me, and then called her uncle, a police officer, to have me arrested. So that just a whole lot of mixed trauma, odd experiences going back and forth with the highs and lows.
Absolutely. You guys have both been through it for sure. The first thing I want to talk about is, do you guys think that you're empaths? Is that part of the problem? Is it that you see all the fuckery that's going on and it makes you more depressed? Or do you think that you've just kind of always been this way? Jacinta, you want to take that first?
So, for me, I think that though I've always had depression issues, and of course ADHD I was likely born with, I think political climate has definitely made it worse, especially when you're watching people who look like has been murdered by the police on a regular basis. That has made it incredibly difficult, especially because I live in a fairly rural area of Pennsylvania. So that means that, there's Confederate flags and super aggressive conservative people here. Can be a little frightening at times. Last year I was driving with a friend of mine in South Carolina, and a guy, like, he was driving and we passed a guy who was on a motorcycle safely and pulled in front of us on this bike to make like ape motions and pat his gun. It was, and although there was racial tension here before, it isn't the same as it used to be. Have you noticed the difference?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I organize stuff now we've got counter protesters across the street, like immigrant solidarity marches and stuff. We never had counter protesters. Now we do, and we get threats. I'm gonna show up with such and such, and F those, and people have definitely become more comfortable with showing how racist they are. But I can imagine.
It's fucked. I get to luck out being up here in Massachusetts. They hide a little better around here.
What?
That whole like that chill like Anglo-Saxon thing going on, right?
Yeah. They Boston's not a fan of diversifying their city, but they don't put it out in the open. They hide what they're doing.
It's crazy that you mentioned that, because like I think it's well known color, like Boston, super racist. Like,
yeah, a lot of well-intentioned rhetoric. But it's getting better. One of the unfortunate side effects of gentrification in Boston is the old guard is racist, and the college kids taking over are less racist. I guess you gotta find something like that.
Look, at least we're headed downwards on the trajectory, man. Like, if you had to pick between less racist, you're gonna pick less racist.
It's the right direction to go.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? I know, like, I've read many studies who psychotherapists and psychologists, they're all saying that they are prescribing more antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication than ever before. They're having more patients than ever before, suicides higher than ever before. Do you think that that is adding to just your regular mental health needs? Do you think it's made it worse?
I think in a lot of ways, a lot more people being on all this stuff kind of helps get a more, like, the more attention's being paid to it by everyone. It's generally a good thing, but it's still, everyone treats it as like a little under the surface thing, you know, like half your friends are on antidepressants and, you know, like 3 of them are though, but like, I don't know. I feel like the climate of so many more people are just feel lost. And I think more people need antidepressants. I've only been on them once in my life, and when I got arrested, they did not give me them in my jail cell over the weekend. So I just kind of gave up on them. Going through withdrawal in a jail cell just kind of pissed me off about the whole idea about anything that's going to give me withdrawal.
Yeah, that's crazy, because if you miss a day or two, like, you gotta start all over again. It's like your system just goes completely out of whack.
It was
That's
already in
crazy
a
they didn't
situation
give them to you.
just lights on me for the whole time. You know, so like no concept of day or night to begin with, and just like weird cycles from that. So
wow.
The way that, like, I fully support people using antidepressants like responsibly, and I know a lot of people who they've really helped, and I like the idea that they're helping a lot of my friends. Personally, I can't. That moment scared me enough that I don't fuck with them.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I keep my antidepressant.
Oh boy.
I'll take them, but I get it. There was a drug that I was on for a few years, and when I came off of it, it was like hell. It took me like 6 to get it fully out of my system and have my shit back together to where I felt normal again. In fact, I think the time I ever had to detox off of it was when I was working with you still, Joyce. So it was a while ago. And aches, if you turn your head a certain way, it would feel like somebody was pushing your head underwater. Very strange. But it like, you can't, I think some of the things that we're trying to medicate for are helplessness of our society. Like, we're not making enough money. We can't afford to take care of our health, to support ourselves in the fashion to which we're accustomed. We can't live as well as our parents lived, so we feel like failures. Going to fuel your depression, and medication can't fix that. So it's like we're kind of screwed to a certain extent unless we can do some dramatic as a society.
Yeah,
right.
I couldn't agree more with that. That's definitely like such a crushing reason why so many people just gotta do something as an escape, gotta take something chemically to make you feel like it's all right, when I don't know, it doesn't always feel all right. It doesn't feel like the next 10 years are gonna work out the way they're supposed to, like, easily. Everyone else made it sound like it was an easy thing, because for like our parents' generation, it was work their asses off, but the jobs were there to work their asses off. The promotions were there.
The thing. Like, if you wanted to work, you were going to be able to get work, and it was going to be work that was going to be in your family. And we were told, go to college, you'll be able to get a better job. So now we've got these shitty ass student loans, credit cards from these predatory lenders, and the jobs aren't there. Like, if medication is going to help you get through that, then take it. But though, like, I think some of that is situation up of regular depression that people would have anyway.
Yeah, and a feeling of learned helplessness and with your surroundings. The entire environment just kind of just takes what's already there and crushes it more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So how do you guys think that something like Medicare for All would help things like this?
I think being able to get everyone deserves the healthcare, the mental health care. Mental health needs to be a much more important part of the healthcare discussion. But everyone deserves to be able to be treated and to be treated before shit hits the fan, which is another big thing that just like mental health, so many people don't get. I didn't get any help for a lot of like post-concussion problems until I went to the mental hospital. A lot of shit I didn't realize was just fucking weird ass thoughts. Like, but it was such an odd process that like I had to hit rock bottom, and I didn't even admit how far I was until like I reflected back on it. And but not having the preemptive care available, it makes a huge difference. And not having the stigma attached to mental health to normal health care.
Yes, absolutely. I've interviewed over 100 candidates in 2018, and I could count on one hand how many of them specifically spoke about mental health on their campaign websites. Not cool. It needs its own section because I know with me, I get infuriated when I see all these comments about, oh, take your happy pills, and like there is such a thing, sign me up, or the gunman was manic depressive, and it's like people just don't understand. They don't get it. There's a lot of ignorance when it comes to mental health. Jacinta, I see you shaking your head. What is your reaction when you see those ignorant ableist comments?
It's well, the thing, it's like, okay, mental health is like a neutral thing. So you can have good people with mental health problems, and you can have really shitty people with mental health problems. Mental health doesn't make, like, there are certain things that might make you more prone to get upset, to be aggressive, but just generally speaking, that's not an issue that is specifically mental health related. And even if it was, you're not planning on doing any better background checks to make sure that people with mental health issues aren't getting a hold. So are you really concerned about mental health, or are you concerned about just having, you're throwing people with mental health under the bus?
Mm-hmm. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, that's a good way of really summarizing how people like to treat mental health, is especially the politicians. It's a side thought, a thoughts and prayers when something goes bad, and why don't we do something in order to, what if there's a mental health screening, but we won't just give people health care so that they can actually keep up with their own mental health screening before trying to get a gun. It's such a weird way that we use mental health as a buffer for what we're really getting at without addressing the issues of it.
Absolutely. You're so spot on, both of you. I see a lot of comments totally feeling what you guys are saying too, which is great. So there's so many suicides lately of young kids, which is just like, it's so bad. 2 days ago, I read an article about a 9-year-old girl who hung herself because she was being bullied. It seems like with the younger kids, this is almost the primary reason. 99% of the time is from being bullied. So suicide is so much more prevalent now, and also because of online. People, they are so mean online. Well, why don't you just kill yourself? And hell, people have said it to me on this show. So how do you guys Renee, your work is online like mine is. You're always online. How comfortable are you that you're that brave to open up and share these things when there could very well be complete insensitive assholes in the comments?
There are a lot of complete insensitive assholes in the comments, but at this point, I'm not doing it for them. Like, if they feel that strongly about for me, and that little girl who was 9 years old was being like racially bullied.
Yep.
And concerned about that, like, there's a growing trend where Black kids are taking their own lives. It's stigmatized in the population at large. It's even more stigmatized in the Black community. And I'm afraid that we're not able to get the help as soon as they need it because we don't think that children have anything to be depressed about a lot of times. So missing it, and our kids are dying. And another thing that I'm concerned about, especially with so much accessibility for kids, is, there's suicide contagion, where they see somebody else committing suicide and then the idea is in their mind. And that's not just a phenomenon for kids, that's for everybody. Like, I'm seeing more and more of an increase in suicide. So I think we need to be careful about how we're reporting those kind of stories and talking about them, because it's dangerous.
Absolutely. Great point. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, especially with the young kids, that's something where just back in we're all old enough to remember before Facebook, you can just go home and no one could fuck with you anymore. And that was it. And that was great. I love that feeling. Yeah. Kids don't have that. That's terrible. Being able to we were being an adult when Facebook, it was high school, being old enough to realize that, people said shit on Facebook. Get over it. But you're a young kid. This is the first thing you have where you're and when you can't escape, it's so fucked up.
Yeah, the bullies in your pocket.
Yeah.
The bullies in the bathroom with you. The bullies there while you're trying to play your video game. You can't get away from it.
Can't get away from that. And when you're a kid, that's your school. That's your whole life. Yeah. There's a few people that's insane.
And then God forbid they get in position and you've got a picture, you've got audio, you've got video of you making an ass of yourself. And there's so many different ways to humiliate you. Yeah. And again, it's all over the internet. You can't get away from it.
And it stays there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have that thought all the time because people are like, oh, you should run for something locally. You're so political and opinionated. I'm like, dude, stuff on the internet does not get deleted totally. I know there's some shit about me from 15 years ago that's going to come back. I know it. But
they'll find it.
You know
about when we were in high school.
You didn't. What about giving people the finger and all kinds of stuff? They're like, screw you. And I'm like, okay, maybe I will get a chance right now since we're doing this now.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Texas who was like, fuck off? And I'm like, whoa, didn't you almost I don't remember his name, but I remember thinking holy shit, that's your concession speech, huh?
I can expect it. Sometimes if you lose, especially, just want to tell everyone how you really feel.
I wish I lived in Texas. I would have voted for him. He used the F word in his concession.
That was okay. Yeah, that was the one thing I'll give him credit for. Don't get me started.
Oh shit. Joy knows I'm the worst informed politically interested person ever. I'm always like, Joy, what about this? But who told you about Bernie Sanders though?
Oh, Bernie's what's up. And then you texted me a photo when you voted for him. You're like, look, I voted for him.
It was very cool. Can you hush you? In the background.
And Mikey made a CD for Bernie with some really good songs.
Oh, fun time. The Boston punk scene had like 10 to 15 different bands chip in a song. Sold the thing, made a few $100 for the campaign. It was fun.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And Bernard loves punk rock because you guys, I know Mikey knows this, but Jane actually had a punk rock club that she owned and ran.
Yeah, 242 in Vermont.
They're making a documentary.
Yeah, I was to say that place just played. They just closed that place down like last year, but that was up and going for a while. I got some buddies who played some real memorable shows there.
Oh, that's so amazing! Oh my god. Okay, I think I have ADD too. Do you guys go to therapy, or have you gone to therapy? And do you think it's advantageous?
Yes, I think I went. I think it was useful. I think other people problem is it's not accessible if you don't have insurance, and a lot of us don't. So I think that therapy should be something that's accessible to anybody who wants to do it. I know it's not for everyone, even one should go, but it's a damn shame to want to be able to go and not be able to.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. Everyone should be able to. I'm a dude. We're not allowed to do that. But I saw. No, like I'm not. I don't go see one. I went to see one after I got out of the mental hospital, like a sort of social worker therapist in between there, and he was helpful at getting me rearranged a bit. But on top of that, I don't follow up well with things in general. Committing to seeing something regularly is hard enough.
Yeah, and there's kind of a shopping that you have to do. Like my first, and this is a funny story. It's funny now because I'll be 40 in a few months. But my first therapist, I was 18, and I started going to him. I went to him for months and months and months. And I never got any EOBs, so I found that weird, but I was like, whatever, okay. So I shared everything with this dude, told him everything. One day I go for my appointment, building's locked up. Next day, he's in the paper. Dude had fake degrees on the wall, wasn't even a therapist. I talked to this dude for months, my very first one.
How effective was he compared to the other ones, though?
Well, he listened, but he was weird. Like he was weird, but then I had to kind of shop around for some other ones because I found I really don't like talking to women. I just don't. I don't know. I talk better with men because I'm just more open with them. That's what she said, but I just don't like talking to women for some reason. So you have to kind of do like this trial and error. Are you comfortable with the person? Do they understand you? So that's always interesting. If you find a good one, you gotta keep them.
This is pretty much how my friendships work. All right, who's gonna deal with me being crazy? Oh, you people, nice. How you doing? Let's hang out all the fucking time. You're sick of me tonight? I'm gonna call up someone else who's fine with me being crazy. Let's go drink some whiskey.
On that note, do you guys do you have family and friends who know the magnitude of what you guys have been going through, and who actually stick around to help?
Yeah, I have an amazing support system.
Even if I wanted to hide it at this point, I don't think that I could because I've got like a whole blog built around it. It's like, oh, I'm crazy. Well, so does half the world. Have fun. Take a seat.
Yeah, that makes it nice when you got the whole blog dedicated to it. Hard to hide it at that point.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like, oh, you want to know how crazy? Look, here's the link. I'll talk to you later. Let me know when you've caught up.
Well,
great.
you know, you guys watching, Mike is actually my cousin, and my family, that his parents and his siblings are so awesome, and I'm not just saying that. So, you know,
No,
you're definitely with around caring people, which is amazing. Rene, you're one of the strongest damn people I've ever met. So that's why you guys are so brave to be here. You're both freaking brave as hell. And people in the comments are saying it too. This is not something easy to open up about at all. This is the first time I've even said anything like what I've said so far. I'm very outspoken politically, but privately I'm very like so as far as the stigma goes, it seems like although, you know, people are more prescribed with more medication now, and people are more comfortable going to therapy now, things like that, and it is talked about more, it seems like there's still so much stigma. I work in healthcare, and I hear comments like, oh, look, this guy went to the padded rooms, ha ha ha, you know, things like that. And so that does get daunting, seeing that. What do you guys suggest as far as, you know, being able to educate and, you know, talk to people that they should learn more about what it's like for these people?
You know, I think that's one of the best things about being so public about having mental illness, because people, and when they get a chance to get to know me, and then they're like, oh, wait, you go through this too? Yeah, I do. And then the next thing you know, we're talking about it, and I've sent them to therapy, and I'm like, well, go to blackgirllostkeys.com and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, we're having conversations. There's people who I'm friends with or who are related to me who never would have considered going to therapy before. So it is a good thing that we're all out, because are seemingly normal, but we deal with this abnormality, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is great to like be in terms of like bringing awareness and helping everything. That's fucking awesome. Jeez, I'm doing nothing over here. I say what I think a good way to like help end a lot of the stigma around it is actually like using the terms correctly and not just like referring to this person's diagnosis when it's a criminal report. I think referring to someone's diagnosis when they fucking graduate is a great thing. Just little things that put it in perspective as a more normal thing, and that each problem exists, and not everything that's mental health is just one umbrella thing.
You know what? Great point. They make those terms interchangeable. He was psychotic and they call him bipolar, or, you know, he was schizophrenic, they call him manic depressive. So that is a great point. Jeff Pearson, who's a regular viewer, said, Mike, if you're ever in Oregon, drinks on him.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm game.
My viewers are freaking awesome. What is, you know, oh, Mark, since I see you watching, can you put the phone number for suicide awareness? I'm trying to think of what it's, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But if you could put that number there, also a link to write love on her arms. That's something I've donated to. It's an amazing nonprofit where bands contribute songs and concerts and stuff to help people who cut and are suicidal or have severe depression. And it's just a place you can go to talk Also, there something that's so incredible is the past 2 years or so, suicide awareness hotlines have made it so that you can text as well, which is huge because a lot of people with anxiety cannot talk on the phone. It's
Right.
really, really hard for them. So it's to be able to text is just so amazing. There's also some apps out now that you can get like a counselor immediately to chat with, text back and forth. So there are a lot more avenues now that we never had growing up. But what do you guys think that we can do in the future to help people, you know, who are feeling this way? Because as we speak, there are people wanting to die. I mean, quite frankly. So Rene, what is your what do you want to say to people who are feeling that desperate and that alone?
I think anybody who's feeling super desperate, like active suicidal, I would always recommend get to the hospital, like as soon as you can. Like that's the safest for you. And that I know that that's not something that we want to do, especially like Mike, I'm with you. I've been in the hospital before, and when you come out of the hospital, like your main motivation is to never be in the hospital again, because it's not a fun place to live to regret being in the hospital. So, you know, if you're feeling actively suicidal, get to the hospital, get to a, God forbid, police station, somewhere where there's some sort of, get you some assistance quickly, or reach out to, you know, it's good to reach out to friends and family. They don't have sometimes they're not equipped to help us, and they can say the wrong thing in that moment. It can be more harmful.
You got to reach out to someone.
Yeah, like it's critical, right? Like even if you have to go to the hospital,
reach out to a bartender.
somebody who can give you something. You know, reach out to suicide hotlines. Reach out on a mental health page, even if they can't help you because they're not professionals. They can get you in the hands of somebody who can. There's more options than what we allow ourselves to think when we're feeling that way.
Yeah, and
hopelessness, it can often be a temporary thing.
And the mental hospital isn't a place you want to go back to once you leave, but it's a much better place than where your mind is right before you go in.
That's it.
That is awesome. Yes.
All you got to do is get yourself out of that low, and then the world looks like a very different place again. And if it takes being in a weird place for a few days, do it.
Yeah, my old doctor said something to me that I will never forget. He said, "You know what, Joy? You're the most sane, crazy person I've ever met." And which I just kind of carried with me for like 20 years, because I was like, okay, that makes sense, because it's just like there's such a stigma that crazy people are crazy, and sometimes it really is just a chemical imbalance, or, you know, something's off kilter. There's so many things that can cause your body, like Mike, you know, your concussion. That I always thought you were hard-headed, damn it. But yeah, I mean, anything like, you know, your thyroid being off, or, you know, so many things can contribute to that. And demonizing someone is crazy, no pun intended, because nobody like wants to be depressed or, you know, have anxiety. Have you guys ever had panic attacks, and can you explain to others what that feels like?
I had to drop out of college because Like my post-concussion problems, if lights were too bright, it caused panic attacks. I don't know what the hell why that makes any sense, but once the spring semester started and there was snow on the ground, everything was so bright and reflective. I'd walk about 100 yards out of my apartment and just have to turn and immediately cover my eyes so I can't see anything else. Just get right back in there, get back into my dark corner in the room in the back of the house away from everything, turn the lights off, and go back to bed. That was my most consistent feeling of just pure panic, pure shutdown.
Yeah. Does it feel like you're like a lot of people have the symptoms of feeling like you can't breathe or feeling like you're weak in the knees?
Yeah, it was just an immediate need to, like, my whole body was shutting down and I needed to get out of public. I needed to get back so where it could shut down. Like that was the biggest like feeling to me. Like I need to be in that place because things aren't going to keep working.
Yeah. How about you, Rene? Did you ever experience that?
It's like for me, it's almost like, you know how you feel when you go for like, okay, I don't go for runs, but if I did, it would feel kind of like that. You feel like you're having shortness of breath, your heart's beating real fast, outside stimulation, like everything just feels like it's closing in and it's overwhelming. You know, that like the thing that sucks about panic attacks is that really try to make you feel like you're overreacting, and it can be like there are people who are going to the hospital thinking that they're having a heart attack, and it's not a heart attack, it's a panic attack. So it's a mental illness, but it plays with your body physically, like a back pain, neck pain.
Yeah, you
all
still
kinds
feel
of
it.
different things. Yeah. Like either you're going to work through the issues emotionally, or it's going to start to manifest in different parts of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you guys, I interviewed a veteran who suffers horribly from PTSD, and he stated that the only thing that saved his life is cannabis. Have you guys tried that to Mike, I'm not done asking the question.
It's like, yeah.
Look.
Yep.
Or CBD oil or anything like that.
Yeah, that's something that really helped for the concussion recovery, especially like the doctors prescribed opioids, because of course they did, and just took some of those. It didn't help half as much as smoking a joint. And the thing that could relieve the pain then relieves the anxiety now. You can just after work go home and just fucking chill out, and it's great.
Rene, how about yourself?
Marijuana is extraordinarily helpful. It's before, like Joy and I were talking before the show, and I'm like, yo, I gotta go throw some makeup on. But I also put a couple drops of CBD under my tongue because it's an anxiety thing. So I'm like, okay, let me do this too, see if I can get some relief. It's great for anxiety. I love CBD. I don't have my Pennsylvania card yet, so I can't use the real stuff.
Right. Yeah, I use the pseudo stuff on my wrists when I go to get like medical treatments and stuff, and it works. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. Someone close to me started using it to sleep.
What's that?
I saw someone close to me started using it to like calm their anxiety so they can sleep, so they're not like they were waking up in the middle of the night with like panic attacks, and now using the CBD to help that. Well, that's pretty. It's great. A life.
Like it'll shut a panic attack down. It's like it helped me so much with anxiety. I actually stopped taking anxiety medication, nice. Which I wouldn't recommend anyone do without talking to their doctor, but it works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. depression has been shown to go down in states who have legalized it. Suicides have gone down, things like that. I'm hoping we can just get it legal pretty much across the country.
Really better hurry up.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't even do it and I want it legal. I'm one of those nerds who's like literally never done it ever, because I've smelled it at concerts and it just, I don't know the smell. I don't know, but I use the pseudo oil on my wrist, whatever the amount is we can actually get in PA. But what is something that you guys do when you just feel like, fuck, I don't want to live anymore. I can't do this anymore. Like, nobody gives a shit. What is something you do to kind of overcome that? Some people play music. Some people go to sleep. Some people play with their dog. Like, what works for you guys?
I definitely play with the dogs. There's all these weird things that you can do, like online. They have ASMR videos. They're really soothing when you have a panic attack, or you're just feeling anxious. They've got you can play with certain frequencies that'll help to relax you too. Like, I really enjoy stuff like that. Big proponent for medication, but if there is another route that I can go that doesn't involve me having to take another pill, I really like experimenting with things like that. Writing helps. I like to crochet. That's like clinically proven. I used to get in trouble at work all the time for crocheting.
Oh, yes, you did. I sat next to you.
But I was anxious. Like, that was a terrible job, and it helped.
Yeah, I hear that. Mike, do you write?
Not much anymore. Post concussion didn't work so well. I occasionally write songs. Mostly I just sing other people's lyrics. It's great, way easier. But yeah, like when that sense of doom's coming, honestly, most of the time it's just drink another shot of whiskey, wake up tomorrow, go to work, and I don't know, keep doing that for a couple months. It might disappear.
I can't wait to see you again. Oh my god, we're gonna have such a blast.
It's the winter. Just don't see the sunlight for months. Any day feels like the world might end. Fuck it. I don't know. I'll drink whiskey, and if tomorrow the world's ended, the world's ended. Fine.
Endorsed by Mike. If you ever feel gloom and doom, drink whiskey and go to bed.
Gotta work tomorrow. Gotta go to sleep. That's how it goes. Drink some whiskey.
Well, I think that's also, I used to think maybe it was a coping mechanism, but I don't think it is. Like, I think people who are hurting have the absolute best senses of humor. They do. Like, it's like every single person who has, facetious comments or witty retorts, it's like you automatically know there's some pain in there. They get it. And also the most intelligent people, you can't be smart and not be depressed. Like, you're aware of things going on. So, I mean, do you guys, sometimes I have this thing where I'm like, oh, I want to go 24 hours a day, just completely blind to all this shit, and, but then I think, well, then I wouldn't be me, blah, blah, blah. But do you guys ever have that thought? Like, why can't I break free from these, these thoughts or what have you? Renee, I see the wheels turning.
I might go first. I'm thinking.
All right, I don't know. I appreciate the compliment of saying that us depressed people are smart, but I'm not sure it applies.
Yeah, it does.
No, but in terms of just like trying to take a step back from everything, with the ADHD, need the fucking Facebook out, need to be clicking 8 links anyway. Some of them might as well be worthwhile. But I like to try to just at least tip the balance in like new bands. I'll go a week where I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna focus on listening to new bands this week more. I'm gonna keep checking the news, but like this is what I'm thinking about. Here's my focus. Or like I have to book 3 shows this week. I have to get 3 venues secured for these 3 months. I try to give myself a different task and something that's not going to be like overwhelming. But I can't completely check out from anything though. I'm so bad at it. Like I said, I know I'm going to open up 8 links on Facebook. Some of them might as well just be the news.
Like, dude,
I feel like I have 100 tabs
links
in mind. What's that, Renee?
That's the whole time we've been talking. I've been going through closing windows, going, you're slowing your ass. Close all of this shit so that you can stop. Like it's like when I opened up my browser before we came on, Chrome was like, "Do you want to restore all your tabs? It didn't close properly." And I'm like, "Oh no." Like,
it's dangerous.
I already know it's gonna be like a ton of stuff because my mind goes different places. That's a very ADHD thing.
Oh yeah.
Where we just want to do all the things all the time.
Yeah.
So many tabs open.
What is something else that that you guys have experienced that has well, let me put it this way. Do you guys think personally that you were predisposed to being depressed and having anxiety, or was it more situational and kind of progressed from there?
Genetic for me. It runs in my family.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah. So there's definitely a bit of anxiety and depression that runs through my family. There was definitely like a lot of anxiety growing up, like anxiety just through growing up the entire time, but that it changed what it was when I got that concussion. That rearranged a lot of what the weird thoughts are. A lot of anger turned into depression. A lot of one type of anxiety turned into anxiety that manifests in different ways. Mm-hmm. A lot of things just sort of came out differently from that. And then following that up with the trauma of being like domestically abused, it's like that was definitely something that like came. That kind of set off a whole new different type of anxiety. That like a lot of things that upset me following that, or things wouldn't have bothered me for a second beforehand. So there's definitely an amount of like definitely predisposed to be bothered by things and hold on to things in certain ways that'll make me anxious. But how it all went, a whole lot of environmental factors.
Sure. Yeah, that's man. I just remember my heart just broke so bad when I heard about that. Like I was like, I'm ready to go to Beantown and go up to that bitch right now, because I was just like, yeah. This, sometimes it's like the best, and it sounds so trite, but the best people with the biggest hearts are the ones who get shit on, and it happens all the time, and it sucks. Not that you want bad shit to happen to others, but it's Renee's like, well, depends who it is.
Like, I can think of some people who I can wish some bad shit on. But anyways, continue. Joy had the honor of actually, like, I was in a relationship, and Joy invited me and my abuser to volunteer at a domestic violence, and we went.
I didn't know at that time, though. I didn't know.
Seems like a good lesson for him.
Like, oh, you want to come? Okay, like, all right. Like, I mean, his mom was an abuse survivor. Well, you want to come? That's cool. But yeah, no, that was an interesting day. Like, oh, you feel real violence victims, do you, pal? Okay.
I couldn't believe, looking back at that, I was like, oh my God, they came to the charity. Oh my God. I was like, what did I create? What did I invite them to? This is so awkward. But,
you didn't do anything.
I am just so proud of you for getting out of that. You know how I feel about him and from day one, and I am just so proud of you and all you've accomplished. I think a lot of everything you're accomplishing is because you've distanced so much negativity from you.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Hang in there, Mike. Like what happened to you is not cool. Especially, that's another thing that I've noticed, and it seems like it's a trend, female abusers especially, where if the person that they're with has any kind of history of being institutionalized for mental illness, that they'll get the cops involved. Oh, well, he's going crazy over here. I'm afraid that he's going to hurt me. I think you need to come check on him. Like, you're not the first guy who I've heard of that happening to. And I'm really curious about the connection and how many people into, because that's scary when you're involving a mental health issue.
For me, she didn't have to pull that card. She just called up her uncle who was on the force, and he came and took care of it. They didn't even have to make many excuses. The official report had a couple of inconsistent stories, but when they took me out, I was bleeding and bruised, and they just did not give a shit. Lowell, Mass Police Department, if anyone's curious.
Look, he said, "Look, I'm not scared. I'm naming them."
Yeah, but God, see, that's so scary because that's called privilege. I'm going to do this, but then I'm going to call my uncle. So, yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. That's the kind of person who goes around like, really? I'm going to do this because do you know who my uncle is?
You can't stop me. My uncle's a cop. Yeah. And it was really shitty because she was someone who paid a whole lot of lip service to, causes where like police accountability. And then, as soon as the reality came in her face, she used what she had against me. And the police had no problem going with it either, which is the worst thing. Like, all right, some spoiled little person, tries what they try, but it takes an organization to just continually fuck with people like that. It takes everyone. There was like four officers at the crime, and at least two of them were very like clearly realized it was bullshit and just nothing. It didn't matter.
Wow. So do you think that it would have been different should you have been the woman and her to have been the guy?
I think so. I think the relative Uncle Cop situation complicates that a bit and where the power lies there, but I don't know. I don't want to speak on the hypothetical too much there. It's shitty to think about how people just want to interweave any power they have into just like any small amount of power they could have. They have to use it over someone. It's shitty regardless of who's doing it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, also, before I forget, afterwards, you guys have to look through these comments. I mean, people are like seriously loving you guys and everything you're saying. What thoughts do you want to leave with the viewers with as far as something to inspire them, something to watch out for, what you hope to see in the future, anything like that? Rene, what are your closing thoughts?
I think if we're to live with mental illness and you have the ability to be really vocal, I think you have a social responsibility to do so. If you can. It's not for everybody. It's not easy. And I also think that we need to be really careful about the language that we're using because we don't know what kind of effect the negative shit that we say about mental health has on the people around us, because you don't know what people have. I'll tell you what, there was a fine, no shit. I shared an article about borderline personality disorder. So much about it, but apparently it had some really shitty things about borderline personality disorder and she messaged me and she was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I have BPD. Never fucking knew. And really, like, she enlightened me about what it's really like to live, because I think the only pop culture reference that we have for borderline personality disorder is Fatal Attraction and Glenn Close, and it's not a fair assumption. So we got to be careful articles we're sharing, because we could be hurting people inadvertently, and they're not always going to come to your inbox and tell you.
Great point.
Yeah.
Mike, how about yourself?
Fuck Brett Kavanaugh for ruining the phrase "I like beer."
Yeah.
Oh.
There are a lot of simple pleasures in life that I want to enjoy, and he ruined one of them.
Are you guys believing we're cousins? Like, is it that obvious? Oh my God.
Absolutely, you guys are related.
And we're states apart too, though. That's what's funny.
It's all genetic, baby.
Well, I cannot thank you both enough for joining me tonight. This was something I was apprehensive about doing for several months, just because I felt like, as you know, as someone, you know, who people consider a journalist, I didn't want to be, you know, I was very careful with the things I wanted to talk about, and anonymity if they wanted that, and the outpouring of responses was just incredible, and it made me realize, like, just how many people suffer. But you know, the invisible illness, you know, so many people, just like you said, you would never know. It's not necessarily a facade, but it's coping mechanisms that you have to, you know, just kind of put on your I'm at work face and be like, everything's cool. So I've learned a lot as well. And I thank so many of, you know, my friends for posting on that thread and sharing, you know, a little bit of your stories. And I have a request to do another one. So I'm sure I will with as many people who reached out. But, you know, even in the comments, people are so thankful that you guys are so brave to do this. It's just, I'm going to get emotional and I don't want to. It's really, it's important. It's you guys are braver than I ever was. This was not something I speak about at all. So yeah, I admire, you know, how candid you guys were and are. So thank you guys again so much. Rene, do you want to plug your site and everything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anything, like, it's Black Girl Lost Keys. You can still come visit it if you're not Black. It's an awesome place. We talk about depression. You would be surprised when people ask me that. Like, am I still allowed to read it? Why the fuck wouldn't you be allowed to read it still? Like, come on, people, get with the program. But you can go there. If you like the t-shirt that I have on, the t-shirt's up for sale. It kind of helps to support the blog too.
Can you stand up? You can't see it where people
see it. Ta-da! It says I've got 99 ideas, but I can't pick one. Which is pretty much mine works. You just have 99 tabs open all the freaking time. Right, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Mike, how about you?
Thank you so much, girl.
Well,
Oh my
I'll
God.
plug my I host a podcast called The Noise Floor, facebook.com/Noise Floor Radio. And I'm in a couple bands, Satch with a colon on each side of it, and Circus Battalion. You're in Boston, you like punk rock, fucking find us.
And you were in the Balls, right?
Oh no, they were a buddy's band.
Oh, because I like the name, the Balls.
Right?
I mean, that's punk rock in itself.
Oh, they're fucking
Of course.
fantastic. Guys are great.
Balls.
Oh my God. I knew you guys
That
would
might
be perfect. Was that?
That way soon. You gotta get in, keep in touch, because I'm gonna come have whiskey.
Hell yeah.
Trip to Boston. Woo! Wicked awesome. Let's get on the train.
Absolutely. Oh yes, that would be so much fun.
Do it.
Okay, we gotta split up, Joy. Joy and I live like 45 minutes away from each other, and somehow we never managed to get together at the same.
Yeah. Crazy schedules, damn it.
Right.
Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining. You guys, thank you so much for watching and for sharing. Tomorrow night, I have political ranter / comedian Graham Elwood. He's freaking awesome. And those of you guys who know, I had Ron Placone on 3 times. He goes on tour with him. So it's going to be a particularly savage and humorous show tomorrow night. I figured I'd do that after this, just to kind of, in case we got a little sad. But again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
In the comments, you guys are seriously loved. So this worked out perfectly.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited. I've been trying to get on Real Progressives forever.
We'll run for something, damn it.
Call me. She asked me once and I couldn't come, and she never asked again.
I was salty.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Your first shot. Hope I didn't ruin it.
Yes. Thank you so much,
great,
guys. Love you, Renee. Love you, Mikey. Thank you guys for watching. Take care, everyone.
Okay.